we'll be taking a look at the complete and utter failure of Santa Inc. and Cowboy Bebop, the recent Netflix adaptation, which I'm sure Callum has no idea about anything to do with anything regarding Japanese anime or anything like that. Despite Carl's best wishes, I do occasionally enjoy some anime. I believe this is a good medium with which to tell stories. There is a lot of terrible stuff out there, but so is there with every medium. But first, looking at Santa Inc. or Incorporated, you can see here on IMDb, it's been doing some absolute numbers right here. 12,000 reviews, resulting in a 1.2 out of 10. So it's not looking great for those unaware. Santa Inc. is a new show on limited series on HBO Max that is being done with Sarah Silverman and Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's been making a name for himself recently, as we have covered before, getting into arguments with people on Twitter, which has been a recurring theme throughout most of the year, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
also,
I mean, the funniest one being, I love having my car broken into.
Yes, they leave me little treats.
Like a knife.
Yes, I mean, maybe if he does it long enough, he's hoping they'll leave him a little baggie of weed, but...
Are these user reviews, by the way, or is that the critics' reviews as well?
IMDb is open to user reviews, so I'm sure there'll be one or two critical reviews in there, but mainly it is user reviews. So people, there you go, 804 user reviews, 7 critic reviews. Everything else will probably just be like people leaving a number score. So people are not enjoying this. And if we move along, as a result of that, it's actually the worst rated show ever on IMDb. I think the only other one near it is some like trashy Hungarian show that has a 1.4. So congratulations, Seth. You guys have beaten something that's so obscure that most people will never have heard of it.
I mean, salutes in the chat for everyone who did the reviews to make sure people were aware.
You've done your duty. Also, just to say thank you, Callum, for gathering up most of the links for the Santa Inc. portion of this, just so that people don't think I can take all the credit for this. It's also not looking good on Rotten Tomatoes, if we move along. You can see here Myth-informed Mike doing his duty and putting Seth Rogen's Christmas special is flopping hard. You love to see it. I think the average user score on here, because for those not watching, it's a screenshot of the Rotten Tomatoes average tomato meter for critic scores is not even there, because there's not enough ratings to calculate a score, and the average audience score is 3%. It has now bumped up to a very impressive 4%.
Ugh.
I know, right?
Making headway.
They're really making waves with the audiences. But this is interesting because typically speaking, Rotten Tomatoes is used as kind of like a way to see how the mainstream opinion is doing against the opinion of the lowly plebs such as you and I, because the critic score generally reflects the more metropolitan...
The propaganda number.
Yeah, the propaganda number, basically. I mean, I think for a while there was the newer Star Wars films all had very, very high critic scores and absolutely trash audience scores because nobody liked them. So it's a good way to see how the audiences are doing against the propaganda. But then if we move along again, you can see here, this is what was put on Seth Rogen's timeline the week, I think, or a few days before the show released. I finally get to live every Jewish boy's dream of being effing Santa Claus. Santa Inc. is coming soon, with the trailer attached. Have you watched the trailer, Callum?
I did.
Yes, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to put everybody else through this right now, but let's take a little look at what Santa Inc. has for us. And just as a warning, there is a little bit of swearing in this because, of course, being Seth Rogen affiliated, it can't help but be crass and rude and obnoxious. So if we play a little bit of a clip here.
When you're a kid, there's only one day a year more special than any other day. And that day is Christmas. And we are the magic behind that day. So let's get these fucking kids some fucking presents.
Thank you, John, for censoring.
May I present the hardest working man in snowbiz? Good golly, he's jolly. Our own Santa Claus!
Hey, Merry Christmas. Whoa, you're on my naughty list.
More American kids believe in you than they do in vaccines or the Holocaust.
That's great. I mean, disheartening for America, but great for us.
Yep, so that really says all it needs to right there. You can tell exactly the kind of crass, kind of self-aware, obnoxious, smug LA style humor.
The politicization is so cringe.
Yes, it is just absolute cringe. And if anybody heard me sort of like have a little snigger there, it's primarily because of the fact that it popped up saying from the creators of Sausage Party, like that's something to be proud of.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Sausage Party when it came out, and I was like, okay, because I was just looking for something to fill the time. But then when I look back on it, I'm just like, the orgy scene at the end.
I've not watched it. I don't intend to.
But all the food, all the characters are food. They all just have a big orgy at the end that's, across sexual lines and all the rest of it. And I thought about it, I was like, that had no reason to be in that film at all.
I don't think the film had any reason to be in the first place.
Well, you could make something, for kids, well, if it was less crass,
it's not
obviously.
for kids,
but you could make something kind of interesting. But they just had an orgy at the end for, like, no reason. It was like, oh, yeah, that really was terrible writing.
Because it's lol so random.
Yes.
That's about as far as any thought process goes. I must make a comment as well, as the fact that for anybody not watching, the whole thing is stop motion animated, and it looks, I can't tell exactly, but it doesn't look like CGI fake stop motion to me. It looks like it's real stop motion. And honestly, the art style's not too bad.
It's the one thing it's got going for itself.
Yeah, it's the one thing it's
got going. The guys who made the models.
Yeah, and just like if anybody's familiar with how Aardman, the creators of Wallace and Gromit have done things in the past, you'll know that stop motion is really hard to do. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's just sad to me to see presumably hundreds of hours of man time going into producing this when it's just completely let down by the script, the terrible jokes, and the smug attitudes of the people who are behind it. But if we move along, the trailer was also put up on YouTube, and actual Justice Warrior, Sean, decided to take it upon himself to install the extension on his Chrome that shows dislikes, because, of course, YouTube took visible dislikes off.
If you want to fight the power, go and download it.
Yes, absolutely, recently. And there might be a reason that YouTube don't like people seeing the dislikes anymore, because this has a total views on... when he took the screenshot of 683,000 with 3,400 likes and 129,000 dislikes. Oof. Not looking good, is it?
Yeah, but it's also the obvious use of the dislike button, which to tell you whether or not it's garbage.
Yes.
And it is.
And I know that when this first came about, Carl and I were discussing maybe it's due to political pressure from the White House and other such places that they don't want to. Yeah, but it's obviously also to do with these big companies like HBO who are like, we don't want people to see that our shows are trash. Although, to be fair, even without that, you see almost 700,000 views, only 3,000 likes. Doesn't look great.
Do the math.
Yes, and if we move along again, there have been a few cheeky comments left on the YouTube video as well, saying things like, did you know elves have been knocked off of at least 109 shelves? The international elf is the world's foremost problem. Obviously very tongue-in-cheek, not supposed to be taken seriously, a little reference, but... if we move along again before we get to Seth Rogen's reaction, other content creators like Lauren Chen have been making comments on it, so check out her coverage if you want a little bit more.
But here's the weird thing. So Seth Rogen's been endlessly talking about white supremacists and white supremacy and all the rest of it. And then he's made this, and there's politicized moments in the advertising and all the rest of it, in which he's very much making a point of, I'm a Jew. It's like when he messaged Dankula, are you Jewish? And it's just like, no one asked, mate. No one asked.
Yeah.
Like when he tweeted out that bit there, he's like, I want to be the first Jewish boy to play Santa. It's just like, what the...
Yeah, we don't care if you're Jewish,
But
Seth.
he's having a conversation with the white supremacists, but no one else is involved. So all the normies in that conversation, the people who aren't weirdos like him or the white supremacists, just looking at this going, the hell's wrong with you?
And all of the white supremacists, in big quotation marks.
Yeah, of course, the unironic reality, which are nothing. They are nothing in terms of power and size.
He would probably label that person who left that tongue-in-cheek comment as a white supremacist just because of it, but they're obviously doing it to goad you, Seth, for the love of God.
Because you're a lolcow.
Yes, and if we move along again, we can see that Seth Rogen has descended into, as we know, as we've just mentioned, the Hollywood Guide to Dealing with Online Criticism, which is that everybody who dislikes my show is a fascist and a white supremacist. We really pissed off tens of thousands of white supremacists with our new show, Santa Inc., which is now available on HBO Max, taking a nice chance to shill for it in here. Please read the responses to this tweet for confirmation. And everybody in the responses are just saying, no, it just sucked. It's just terrible. You know, I'm something of an effing idiot myself. Yeah, and people have also pointed out, because I've seen other people's commentary on this because they've watched it and I could not be bothered. There's no way I'm going to watch this show, which is that all of the reindeer are overt stereotypical depictions of like black people.
Well, all of the characters are in all of the stuff he does. He doesn't really know how to do anything else.
But I mean, if you're going to start talking about white supremacy, Seth, maybe don't do that. You know? You can see just a few of these comments just ripping into him, saying like, "I don't even think there's 10,000 white supremacists left anymore." I mean, come on. And then,
unless we're going to start counting the Indians, I don't know. It's a joke.
Well, we're counting the Asians now, aren't we?
Anyway,
yeah. If we move along again, we can just see that this is just his typical go-to insult for anybody online nowadays. This is him in response to Ted Cruz. If you're a white supremacist fascist who doesn't find it offensive when someone calls your wife ugly, Ted Cruz is the exact mother effer for you. Why do you have so much time to go on Twitter and just rant at these people, Seth? And you're obviously not, spending too much time looking at the scripts people hand you, but
it's another example where, Ted Cruz there is talking about climate stuff and, what's responsible. Seth Rogen's just like, fascist button.
Yep, white supremacist.
Okay.
All right, if you say so. We've got more examples if we just carry on, where he just says, what Ted Cruz was attempting is literal fascism, and the people who did are white supremacists, presumably in response to January 6th or something like that. You can kind of expect this thing from Hollywood superstars. And then if we move along again, if you scroll up here, you can see that these people support white supremacy in America. I'd use a different company. This is in response, keep going up just to the top of the screen. This is in response to a tweet from Sandals Resorts.
Some resorts company.
Yeah, some resorts company who sponsor Tucker Carlson.
Oh no!
Got him.
I was about to say, is it because of the white sand beach there? Because honestly, it could have been.
It might be Seth's demented version of reality where he just looks like only white people can afford fancy holidays.
Yeah.
This is racism. Yeah, so he just has so much time to just respond to random things and just comment on people's posts.
But again, it's his mindset. Like, he's obsessed with white supremacy and fascism, and there are loads of white supremacists out there.
He sees himself at the forefront of the vanguard.
But then him making that video and filling it full of this inner dialogue with white supremacists that no one else is really getting or understanding as to why, and comes off really weird, is just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, he even has a weird way of choosing his targets, because if we move along, you can see there he's tagged Jack Dorsey in one and said Jack doesn't give an F about white supremacy. Are you thinking of the same Jack Dorsey that I am, that ran Twitter and actively censored conservative viewpoints? Okay, if you say so.
We'll ask Donald Trump about it, shall we?
Yes, yeah. Oh wait, no, we can't. If we move along again, and there's just more and more examples, all you need to do is go into the advanced search on Twitter, Seth Rogen, white supremacy, and you'll find an absolute mountain of this kind of thing. Nothing better than supporting the white supremacy, a mouthpiece of white supremacy to help Jews.
Because it's Fox News.
Because it's Fox. There you go. And if we move along again, as we've seen, he's not particularly big fan of the criticism that's come about from this.
He took it very personally.
Yes, he did take it very personally. And he and Sarah Silverman did this weird little live action thing, which seems to just be a miserable attempt to dunk on the haters, you could say. So let's take a look at this.
It's perfect. Oh, I love Christmas.
You'd have to hate America not to.
Well, I guess it's time. Let's light this puppy. Tyler?
Who's Tyler?
Seth, it's Saturday. Tyler's my Shabbos goy.
Wow. It's beautiful. Can we have Tyler preheat the oven before he leaves?
Already done.
Wow. That's some...
He says that's some goy for people who...
Yeah, it's just embarrassing. The whole thing is set up to facilitate that one terrible pun. And if that's the kind of strained humor we can get from Seth Rogen nowadays, no wonder everybody hates Santa Inc., let's be honest. And the Shabbath Goy, we've
Again, with the dislikes, as John points out there.
Yep, we've got 13k dislikes to 209 likes on a 66,000 viewed video.
Why did they get rid of the dislike button?
I wonder why. Yeah. If we move along, they also mentioned the Shabbath Goy
So this is just what they're mentioning. So they say Shabbos Goy. Shabbos Goy is a term for non-Jews who are employed by Jews to perform certain tasks that Jews are not allowed to do certain times of the holiday. And it's a thing that's existed, but the whole framing of that whole scene, it just comes off like he decided to be like, let's pick as many anti-Semitic tropes as possible, put it in a video, and then we'll put that out. And then when people are like, what the hell's wrong with you? We'll just call them white supremacists.
Yes.
Like, that seems to be the strategy he was thinking of.
Tactic. He's like setting himself a trap, and he's like, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, him and Sarah Silverman there, I'm not going to get into the conversation. Most people could do it for themselves, but it's just, on all kinds of levels, it just looks like he wanted to have a chat with, like, white nationalists or something, and everyone else around him is just like, the hell are you blowing everyone's money on this for? I mean, like the canned laughter, for example, everything in there, but...
It's terrible. Who thought that was a good idea? Carl's pointed out that this is the sort of thing that's only made for the people making it.
Yeah.
That's the audience that it's appealing
Same
to. Is
with the plus-size stuff.
Other insulated Hollywood executives like
Do you
themselves.
have the clip about the feminist agenda bit as well?
Oh, I didn't include that clip, but yes, they make overt reference to the idea that this show's got a little bit of a feminist agenda.
No, like the main character says it. She's like, yes, and what is it? An overt use of a feminist agenda or whatever is the line, and it's just in the middle of the show. And it's just like, this is awful. This is just cringe.
Just embarrassing. Have you heard of subtlety, guys? You might want to think about looking that up in a dictionary. So now if we move beyond Santa Inc., we can take a look into another show which has failed spectacularly purely due to bigotry, of course. So there is a recent release of the Netflix adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, which is a beloved Japanese anime, which is one of the most popular and most well-regarded in the whole medium. And fans and cast have been devastated by Netflix cancelling the live-action adaptation after just one season. So Netflix devastated cast members, crew, and fans, all three of them, by cancelling the highly anticipated live-action Cowboy Bebop series after just one season. The decision comes less than a month after the spin-off's premiere on November 19th, so it didn't really take them long to make that decision. Based on the 1998 anime cartoon of the same name, the series followed on blah-de-blah-de-blah while they try and escape their troubled past. I wonder why it was that fans hated it. Could you throw out any suggestions to why people might hate a Netflix reimagining of a beloved television show?
Did they make everyone black? Did they make everyone gay? Did they make everyone kids and then make it sexual?
Oh, God.
It is Netflix, so it's one of those three.
I wouldn't put it past them. No, but they did trans a character.
There we go.
Yeah, you go.
That was the one I missed out.
It was in that realm. You were getting close. So if we move along, you can see here there is an article from The Gamer, because they have such a vested interest in all this, saying Cowboy Bebop's trans representation is fantastic. People on the old interwebs have been pretty mean about Cowboy Bebop. In any case, I'm not here to talk about the show as a whole right now, but to point out the fantastic trans representation on the show. In some ways, it's the closest I've ever seen to myself on screen. Why are you so narcissistic about this? Why does anybody want to see themselves purely on screen? I'm sorry, but you're probably a pretty boring person in real life. I would rather watch someone interesting than someone who is there purely to represent real people. I really hate that argument.
But the kind of person who defines himself by their essential characteristics, that's it.
Yes.
And it's like, right, okay, I can see them, so all I need to know about your personality is what I can see, and then we're done.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
And the point of fantasy, again, is to escape yourself and put yourself in the shoes of other people, but these people are chronically unable to do that. This comes through the character of Gren, who was present in the original anime, though in a less representative way. Gren wasn't problematic, but I'd struggle to call him trans originally because he wasn't, and he didn't need to be a representative of anything because he was a character, as far as I'm aware. Gren is a man with gynomastasia, or I've probably pronounced that completely wrong, which basically means he has breasts. This is the result of an experimental drug given to him while he is in prison. While these are an obvious female characteristic, he's referred to by male pronouns and just seems like a man with breasts, like that's some kooky futuristic thing as a way of highlighting that Bebop exists beyond our time in a way more interesting than spaceships or robots. I had no issue with the original Gren, but I didn't particularly relate to him. Okay, that's your problem. Also, this is an example of Netflix looking at a character who has suffered unethical treatment as a prisoner that's caused them to grow breasts and gone, a trans person. Is that really a great look, Netflix? Okay, but people weren't particularly happy with the depiction of the character. If you just scroll back up to the top, you can see that's what the character looks like in the new version, very much going with the non-binary aesthetic. And then the actress who plays a beloved character called Faye Valentine came out, if you go along now, with a clip where she was not particularly friendly towards fans of the anime who didn't like the outfit change that they had done of Faye, because Faye in the original, as you can imagine, is a typical anime-looking woman where she's wearing a skimpy outfit. And she came out and posted this on her Instagram story, if you want to play the clip, John.
Hey guys, so as you know, our Cowboy Bebop first look dropped today, which was so exciting. And I just wanted to address a couple of things that sort of keep coming up in the comments amongst fans. First, I wanted to apologize to the fans that I did not anatomically match the Faye Valentine character. 6 foot, double D size breast, 2-inch waist. You know, they looked everywhere for that woman and they couldn't find her. It's kind of weird. So they just went with my short ass. I know. Am I right? You know, there was talk about, like, can we put Daniela in a time machine?
Yeah, I think you can pause that now because it says all it really needs to. Once again, setting yourself off on a great foot to start off with, isn't it? Just coming out and insulting all of the fans for being upset that the thing that they love so much is being trashed, basically.
Turned into a skin suit.
Yeah, turned into the progressive skin suit. And after that, obviously it's been cancelled now. Who would have seen that one coming? One of the people who was involved in the production has been going a little bit down the rabbit hole on Twitter. So if we move along, we can go through these quite quickly. So Naomi Markman, who I believe was a script coordinator, she wasn't a writer, but she was like involved in the script process, is saying, not to rub it in your faces, but as the individual who's read the Cowboy Bebop Season 2 scripts more than anyone else in the world, oh God, you're missing out. This is the pure Wojak of the crying face with the smug face mask on. Like, it would have been really good, guys. I swear it really would have. If we move along again, we can see, my dear troll friends, you do realize that literally hundreds of people lost their jobs today, right? Jobs we loved and cared about. We're going to be emotional. Also, most of, if not all of us, found out today with the public, yeah, you all lost your jobs. Sucks, but that's the market in action. Nobody wanted this. Nobody liked it. Everybody trashed it. That's what happens. Move along again. Just because you don't like the food at a restaurant doesn't mean you would celebrate when it closes down. You wouldn't mock the waiters or chefs. I beg of you to touch some grass and give someone you love a hug. Well, sorry, I would celebrate if they served me a turd on a plate and then spat in my face when I told them that it was terrible, that I wasn't going to eat that. Move along again. My entire life was turned upside down less than 12 hours ago, along with hundreds of my dearest peers. Consider having a goddamn ounce of compassion or empathy. No. Move along.
Look, you know, sincere response and a good response.
Yeah, just no. How about that? The vast majority of Bebop fans, anime or live action or both, are cool, by the way. Obviously, I very much doubt the sincerity of that. And then if we just move along, we can see a screenshot of her bio. Revolutionary leftism, restorative justice, eco-anarchism, raging lesbian, she, her.
Never hire anyone who comes to your company looking like this.
Yes. Netflix, if you wonder why these shows consistently fail, this is why.
Hello, I'm a communist. Get out. You're not being hired.
No, thank you. If we move along, the thing is as well, Netflix has a number of terrible original shows on their platform that get terrible reviews like this. Another Life, which if you scroll down, you might be able to see the reviews for it. It had a 5.2 out of 10. This still got a second season. Normally Netflix just releases it and immediately highlights the second season. Not this time. Not this time. And if we move along again, one of the reasons for Netflix being able to do that is because in the past they have not reported their viewership numbers for any of the shows that they've released. They've always kept that close to their chest because obviously if a show fails or a film that they've done fails, they don't want that people to know, or they don't want potential future investors to know, because it might scare off, you know, big names who might star in their next original project. However, they are starting to do it now for some reason, primarily because it seems that there have been some big shows or films come out that have got lots of hours. They are measuring it kind of weirdly. They're doing it in amount of hours watched rather than individual viewers, which seems like a way to puff up the numbers a bit, especially when you've got certain shows that are like 8 to 10 hours per series to watch. So you could have one person, which counts as one viewer, watch that whole show, and that counts as 10 hours. So it obviously buffs up the numbers. But they are starting to do this now. But basically, even if a Netflix show is terrible and nobody watches it, you're still paying your subscription. You're still paying your subscription so you can watch The Office and Breaking Bad. So they get to just churn out these terrible, terrible remakes, reboots, and whatever. But overall, Netflix and HBO and Seth Rogen, please listen. This is the lesson. Do not antagonize your fans. Don't deface cultural traditions like Christmas with trendy, edgy humor. And most of all, try for the love of God to make a good show.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to check out all the premium content we have on the site.
Yeah, we've got loads, and it's all really, really good. So why should you sign up? Why should you support us? Well, because you're going to get stuff there that you don't get anywhere else. Like the cultural series that John and I have started, which is talking about the politics and philosophy of science fiction. Because everyone was demanding it. And John was like, let's do Star Trek. Okay. And everyone loved it. And they were like, okay, let's do Stargate. And he had never watched this. And so he's like, is this military propaganda? I'm like, no, it's not military propaganda. It's basically a soap opera set in a science fiction setting. But anyway, we've got really great stuff like that. And then we've obviously got our articles, which have got audio narration for the Silver Tier members, such as this Anti-Civilizational Environmentalism by Hugo, as in, look at them. They want to actually erase civilization. And they're actually not very shy about saying it at this point. But anyway, moving on, we've got interviews with absolute mad lads, such as Miles of Kabul that you did.
Good guy. Did nothing wrong.
Ironically. This is the guy who had to be evacuated out of Afghanistan because he was on holiday there. Basically.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, there's loads of criticisms of him that are out there, but we just sat down and went through them, and none of them hold water. So
yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy, and he's got a very placid temperament. Like he's not like some sort of raging lunatic or anything. I was really surprised. I expected him to be mad. But anyway, we've also got loads of regular content, such as our book clubs. This is the Communist Manifesto that Thomas and I recently did. It's very interesting, if you're not a communist, to read the Communist Manifesto, because there are some telltale signs of conservatism that are embedded within it. I know that sounds hard to believe, but trust me, it's in there. Anyway, moving on, we've got our spicy podcast that we can't put on YouTube. Can't carry on talking about that on this channel. Anyway, we've also got the Contemplations, this one that you did with Josh, talking about Parliament.
Yeah, so
does it work?
This is just an in-depth look at the system and where it comes from and why it's a bit of a meme. As mentioned, like the House of Lords. Why does that exist? It's literally just because like the lords, the burgesses and the priests and whatnot didn't want to sit with all the barons and whatnot. So they just separated into two groups in the King's Chamber, and then that became the two houses.
And that's how the system works.
Yes.
Amazing. And finally, we've got the epochs that Bo and I do every week. This was an amazing one. This was a Life of General Gordon. And I'm really glad I get to juxtapose this with the interview with Miles of Kabul, because you can see that these two characters, these two people are cut from exactly the same cloth. Like deeply Christian, like crazy adventurers, love living a life of danger. And the Life of Gordon of Khartoum is honestly a real thrill a minute. Right now, I didn't know anything about him either. So Bo's taking me through what happened, and I was just wrapped. I had such a great time. But anyway, there we go.
And if you want to check us out on Alt Tech, be sure to follow us on Getter. So there's a getter.com and the @ there being lotuseaters_com, because lotuseaters.com didn't work on the @ but it is the name.
You can't put dots in the @ names.
But anyway, go and follow us on Getter. And if you'd like to get access to all that premium content or all the free stuff we also have on the website, go to lotuseaters.com and subscribe. Thank you.